this is a treat for us. We're out of our offices. We're in with the plants and the sunshine and the decor out at Bluegrass Garden, Sod and Nursery, just outside of Red Deer, where we live. Yeah. So this is fun for us. Yay!
I don't see anybody there yet.
Okay, well, it all works.
I'll just keep checking.
Explain to them what we're up to, who we are, and why we wear these glasses.
So yeah, Feng Shui with Anita and Cheryl. Hey, look at that. The point works this time. When I'm at home, I'm never
we don't know how it's going to look on the video. So.
And you know what? Every Friday we come on here and we help you to see through your Feng Shui eyes, to look at things energetically, to see what kind of energy imprint or signature something or anything is, showing us.
Okay, now you guys saw that live. I can't make this up.
Okay.
So the card that flew out is number 14, Gardens.
You cannot make this up. No.
And we know we wanted to talk about the outdoors today.
Wow.
That's one of the reasons we're out. You can't make it up. Do you want me to do another card?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because we have so much already.
Oh gosh, yeah, we surrounded ourselves with little knickknacks and stuff from the garden center and perennials, and you can see some tropicals around us and all kinds of goodies. So where do we want to start?
Well, I think we start with the
Bagua?
With that, because really, if you have what I think a lot of people don't realize is you can use the energetic treasure map.
Yes.
What we refer to as the Bagua.
And treasure map.
And, you can use this grid. So it's a grid with 9 areas. And you can use it on any space, macro to micro. And I mean, I know you have in your garden and yard, and I also in mine. So I have a very small flower bed at the front of my house.
Right.
And I actually, when I planted, I used the Bagua. So that when I was planting, I was being very mindful, very intentional to have a representation of all of those 9 aspects of our life. Because when those things are being represented, whether it's inside your home, in a specific room, or your whole home, when you have energetic representation, for every one of those 9 aspects of your life, then, that's constant information that you're receiving in your subconscious. And that helps you to feel more balanced, to feel more harmony or in sync. So in nature, we can definitely feel more in sync in our garden by using the Bagua treasure map. You can even do your vegetable garden.
Absolutely. You can do every part of your yard. And because like our homes, most are not, and you'll notice this is in a rectangle. We refer to it as a square, but it's as long as they're equal. That's the main thing. So you could actually lay the Bagua down like you would your house. And we have an entire program about treasure mapping your home on our website. So if you want to go into detail on how to lay it down and all those kinds of things, that's a great program.
Great
totally
place
worth
to
it.
start.
When it comes to the yard though, you can do the same thing. Like Anita said, from the micro to the macro, I can actually lay this down on my laptop. I can create little guas on my laptop, on my device. You can do it on your dresser. So you can go from the micro to the macro. One of the things we want to talk about in the landscape in your property is often the properties are weird shapes. So we quite often have areas that are not anchored or supported is the reference we would use. So how would we go about anchoring or supporting? First, how would we know? Well, do a bird's eye view or get the GPS markings or an aerial view of your property. Draw it out.
Yeah, and quite often we see where there's a corner missing.
You betcha.
Or, if you have a pie-shaped lot or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I've seen in, people that live in a cul-de-sac, if they live at the end of the cul-de-sac, their bagua or their energetic footprint of their property, sometimes they're missing or it's not being energetically supported because of the weird shape. And then what happens is their neighbors end up holding on to some of their energy in helpful people in travel or wealth and prosperity or something like that. But there's always, always, always a Feng Shui cure. And it's not one size fits all.
Never.
And so, we're more than happy to consult with you to look at the bird's eye view of your property and, give you some specific ideas of how you can energetically ground that space, how you can pull your own energy.
Exactly.
And again, we always look at the results.
Yeah, what's showing up for you.
So if somebody, I've had clients where they didn't get along with the neighbors. And it had to do with the energy of their landscape. And so as soon as we made some Feng Shui adjustments, like I had this one, it was unbelievable. Like they literally had been neighbors for 3.5 years and it was nothing but, across the fence and all this. Like, seriously, I'm going to say within 2 weeks of us energetically anchoring their own property and doing the clearing and all that stuff, the neighbor who they fought with all the time probably came out here and bought all these beautiful plants and created this garden that extended from their property over.
Nice. Yeah.
Like
exactly.
And
exactly.
did not ask them for any money. All they did was ask for permission and just say, hey, look,
we want to beautify the space.
I want to, and how cool is that?
That is awesome. I love hearing stories like that. And we could just go on and tell stories every time, but
of course,
we also want to educate you in the process. So going back to the landscape and anchoring. So there's a few things that we gathered around us that if you have learned about the Bagua or you go watch the class or you investigate some, or you've had some help before, even if we help you, these are probably going to be some of the recommendations that we would make for you to help anchor your property. Right. So often we refer to crystal use. Well, we're at Bluegrass Garden and Sod Nursery. They don't sell crystals here, so we have no examples of crystals. Just bring your coffee and wander around out here and smell the plants. Anyway, we digress. Let's get back to the topic at hand.
So
how do you anchor?
That one's kind of fun.
And it's huge.
Oh, and is that
yes, it is.
a Woodstock? A Woodstock?
Yeah.
I was at Woodstock. I think we talked about that last time I was there.
Well, we talked about it, but I don't think they talked about it. But anyway.
I was actually at the place in Woodstock where they make the Woodstock chimes.
Yeah. And they've got some beautiful ones here. Oh, my word. So how does a wind chime help to anchor? And I'm going to hang this up so we can
because what it does is it grabs our attention and it holds that energy. It helps to circulate the chi, right? And so that would be a great place to call in, right? To say, I don't want the chi going down over to the neighbors. I want to anchor it right here.
I want to attract its attention.
And I mean, a wind chime is great to have in the landscape if you can, in your wealth and prosperity, right? Would be a great place to have that.
So wealth and prosperity, and I'll just show you on the Bagua again, is right here. So when you stand at the front of your property, so the street address of your property, you would take the Bagua and lay it down this way. So it would be standing there and you reach right hand out and you shake it all about and you point to the right.
And that
far right.
The far right is your love and marriage.
Yes.
The far left is your prosperity. And you know what? I mean, it could go in the other side too.
Yeah, it depends what the results are showing up for you.
It could, I mean, you could put it in any area really.
Mhm.
But if you had one of those areas that were, triangular, right? That you were kind of missing
Yes.
or whatever, and you want to just bring it back to you and your property,
Mhm.
then, put that in the corner,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Things to note with wind chimes. They can be a good neighbor and they can be a not so popular neighbor.
You had a situation.
I did, and it wasn't even a neighbor, it was a spouse.
Yeah, it was somebody you live with. Yeah.
So it's something that everybody needs to be okay with. Because hanging a wind chime up, and this is beautiful, it's large, it has a very gorgeous tone
Right.
to some.
Right.
And as windy as it lately it has been here in Central Alberta anyway, this could send somebody over the fence at you.
Right. And I've seen those bamboo ones and they kind of knock.
Yeah.
It's like, they're.
It's hollow. They're a little hollow.
They're not pleasant in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So that's
be mindful.
a digress or a little caution about wind chimes.
Yeah.
You can get tiny, smaller ones, some little glass ones. There's a number of sizes and varieties that you can get, but just keep that in mind.
And you can hang them off a tree if you happen to have a tree in that area.
My sister had they had a beautiful acreage and they had one of them big ones, bamboo, but it was also down amongst the trees at the far end of the property because when the wind got going,
it was clunky.
It was noisy. Yeah. It was gorgeous.
Yeah. And I mean, so if you didn't have a tree, then obviously you could use one of these shepherd hooks, right? Available at any garden center. Make sure it's secure.
Absolutely.
There. Twist tie your wind chime on so if the wind's not going to take it to the neighbors and things like that. And then of course.
So these are also another great way to anchor that area and invite the chi in. So this is a cute little bird feeder. And of course now I see why you picked it. Look at her cat eyes. Look at the shape of the bird feeder. And the colors.
Well, and the color attracted me too.
So,
But again, bird feeders are great to have in the yard to help anchor and
attract the chi.
Because you know what, the wildlife. So the birds, if they're attracted to your property, then they are bringing that good energy with and they're circulating it around. And, so again, it's all about that balance and, we don't want to attract the menace of the squirrels coming to chase away the birds and, all that kind of stuff. But
sometimes one goes with the other.
Bird baths are great. You have one in your yard.
I have 3.
And, the birds. And again, we look at the results and say, because nature leaves clues. So if the animals are coming to your property, then that's a sign that it's very good energy.
Yeah.
Right? And if they're not, then you want to attract them.
Right.
And we also want to attract, what do we want to attract?
Oh, my favorites. They're little, aerodynamically.
I know we're not going to have time to talk about all the plants if we don't get going.
Aerodynamically, they're not supposed to fly. So I like to attract the bees, and butterflies and hummingbirds. And so we grabbed a few perennials. We're going to talk about a few perennials that we love.
That we would recommend. Right?
Totally, especially where we live.
Yeah.
Salvia is one of my favorites. I've split, I've given it away. I can count hundreds of bees on my one salvia plant when it's in flower. It's just, and I can be in there and pruning off a head, like deadheading, and they don't care.
They're just there.
They're there for the nectar. They could give a rat's patootie about what I'm doing.
And you know what? Honestly, I think we all should have a salvia.
Yeah.
Because we need to, again, help to encourage the population of bees, because that's where our foods come from, right?
And they come in a variety of colors, varieties of sizes. Range right up. There's some annual, perennial, biennial. Let's touch on that real quick.
Okay.
Annuals. In our climate, you would plant annually. Biannuals, you got it. You would plant biannually, meaning they grow one year, they flower in seed the second year and produce seed that grows again. So if you plant it 2 years in a row, you'll have constant flowering after that.
Well, and there are some biennials that will only flower every
2
second
years.
year, right? So just depending on what the crop is or whatever.
Correct.
These
And
are
perennials.
Perennials are the ones that come back year after year.
Correct.
Right? And so obviously, if you're going to invest the money, why not choose a perennial? And then, like you said, perennials, you know, they expand and grow. So
Yes.
then you can split them up and share them with your neighbor. And
Give
you know what
them
I
away.
do every spring when I clean out my perennial bed, I actually take the extra perennials and I actually put them in my planter pots. And then I actually add some annuals with them. Doesn't cost me as much to fill my big planters. Then in the fall, I have all of these perennials that have just, you know, become prolific over the summer, and then I can share them.
So, and just a side note here, native ferns love my yard. And if you're in Red Deer, Central Alberta, and you would like some, please. Okay, but let's also talk about perennials and some habits of some perennials that can become aggressive.
But also, going back to the salvia, so, you know, where would you plant them according to the Bagua?
Oh, well, you know what? Where do you want things to be prolific?
Right. And the coloring.
The coloring, right? So you've got, we can do this reverse. We can do love and relationships, wealth and prosperity, knowledge, self-cultivation, depending upon the colorings for the blues. And by nature, they are wood for the element. So health and family, if you so choose. There's enough green on here as well for the foliage because they're not always flowering. Now, talking about perennials, these guys have a nice girth. They continue to grow. They're a vertical climb. They're a vertical plant.
Yeah, and
they're manageable.
They're manageable. And then there are some perennials that when you see them in the garden center like this, you go, oh, isn't that pretty? Because they've got, you know, a nice texture. That this one happens to have some silver leaves and they got a pretty little purple flower. And you go, oh, isn't that a lovely little ground cover? And then you're going to cuss it for years to come. And there's a few that are like this.
Yes.
And so if you're not knowledgeable about perennials and you're looking for ground cover, especially because there are some ground covers that are totally evasive. They act like weeds.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're in your garden center looking for ground covers, check with their expert and ask them if they're evasive or not. Okay. This one happens to be, but when you want to use evasive ground covers would be if you had a retaining rock wall area somewhere where you want to protect the soil from
soil erosion,
then yes,
that's your baby.
That's what you need.
Because of their root system, they help hold the soil intact.
Yeah, and they'll hold the moisture and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one is the dead nettle ghost, because you want to kill it when you plant it. If you plant it with your other flowers, you'll want to kill it after a few years.
After a few years, you're going to be weeding it everywhere because the flowers are beautiful and they seed everywhere. Yeah. Now this is creeping thyme.
Another ground cover.
Another ground cover, and this one is not aggressive. Great between rocks. So if you've got a patio and stuff, and it doesn't mind being stepped on. And the nice part is, I mean, constant walking on it is going to kill it. Right. It's going to kill anything. But if it's a pathway that you meander down here and there and you happen to touch it or you go by it,
you get a nice
you get the thyme fragrance from this. So it's not evasive, opposite to that one. A little more tender, considerably tinier, but a great ground cover as well.
Yeah. Love.
Let's talk about that one because I want to talk about shade for a second. Typically, most yards have shade somewhere. And one of the questions when I worked at a greenhouse was, what do you have for shade? My favorites.
Absolutely.
Hostas.
Hosta. And You know, you can get all kinds of
shapes,
beautiful different
sizes.
varieties.
Yeah.
There's a, you know,
Monster
variegated,
leaves.
variegated leaves, and they get a nice little
Flower.
white flower
Mhm.
that comes up.
Yeah.
And great for like my friend, actually, I was helping her with her landscape a couple weeks ago, and I recommended to her to go buy a couple of hostas because it's a shady area by the step deck,
Right.
whatever, just a little chunk that she had. And I'm like, okay, you need a hosta.
Yes.
So she was going to go and grab a couple. This one's called Blue Angel.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that cool?
Isn't that perfect?
So you could use the name to
As
plant
part-
according to the Bagua.
Exactly. And the shape of the leaves, the
Mhm.
coloring, they're so easy.
Yeah.
They're an
100%.
easy plant. They have one thing that absolutely loves them, and they're called slugs.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
Hmm.
just something to be aware of. Often when you have shade, you have
You're gonna
slugs.
Yeah.
There's lots of things you can do with slugs. So
You know
we're
what?
not going to get into pest control.
Epsom salts works.
Well,
Anyways,
yeah, the diatomaceous earthworks,
Yeah,
and
we'll
there's all kinds of
talk- yeah.
options.
Okay.
Okay, what else we got over there?
Okay, some other favorites for a perennial garden. Love,
that
love, love,
beauty.
love.
Look at that
Love the
beautiful
lupin.
Variety of colors.
Oh, and they come, you know, you can get little miniature
Yeah.
lupin. And what I love about the lupin is that they self-seed.
Mhm.
So quite often in the fall, if you actually just leave the blooms on them, just let nature do its thing,
Mhm.
right? Don't go in there and take off the, just let it just stand there and do its thing. And in the fall, the seeds will shake off. And the next year, you're going to have lupins popping up here and there and everywhere.
What I like about their foliage, and in Feng Shui quite often you'll hear people talk about a money plant. Well, they mimic the money plant, and they're
100%.
prolific,
Yes.
and they produce their own seed and
Yes.
send it forth.
Mhm.
So they're giving it out and you're getting it back.
Yes.
So where would be the perfect place in the garden Bagua or your yard Bagua?
Yeah.
Wealth and prosperity.
100%. And then, of course, the color
Coloring is, yep.
of it would match that as well. You know,
But
anything
they
in
come
the
in
fire.
different colors. So
Anything in the fire
fire
shades.
colors.
Yeah. So yeah, lupin, we absolutely love, recommend. Do you have some more?
I
on
do
your
not.
side?
Oh, I do. Actually, I do. I have
Oh, yeah,
silver
yeah.
mound,
Mhm.
Artemisia. Another little lovely. The coloring. Again, it's great in the shade. It's that lighter color. It's very soft texture.
Mhm.
They can get quite huge, and if it's a windy location, they can get flattened by the wind. Cats love to sleep on
Mhm.
Artemisia. So that's just a warning.
Yeah, if you don't want to attract
If you
the
don't want
neighborhood cats,
cats,
don't plant that one.
because they will come in. It is such, you know, when you're at a garden center like Bluegrass, go feel the texture, because
yeah.
it's not all about the flower. The flowers for most plants come and go. So make sure that you like the shape and the texture of the plant leaves, the plant itself for the rest of the season. This isn't known for flowering, the silver mound.
No, but it's,
But
you know,
it's
it's
the
very
soft-
hardy, and
it's
you
very
actually,
hardy.
you can actually plant this in a full sun location too, and it'll be fine.
Yeah,
And so,
it's
yeah.
adaptable. It's the wind
Yeah.
that can do that.
Yeah.
And like I said, the cats.
But yeah, it gets
the
silver
texture,
mound,
yeah,
so it's just
literally.
this nice
Well, their
round,
picture,
you know,
picture
round
speaks.
shape.
Yeah.
And again, you know, when we're looking at plants in the landscape, we want to try and stay away from those spiky, pokey ones that people would go, oh, you know,
Well, that you would avoid
get the feeling.
intuitively, because it's like
Danger.
Danger.
Right. Yeah. So you know, those things that think that might harm or hurt you, well, they're not going to attract good chi in the garden, right? Obviously.
exactly.
Mhm.
What else we got over there?
Oh yeah, this is another. I love
We're
this
coming to
little
the
guy,
top of the
too.
hour
Yeah,
too.
There
So,
we are.
Perfect.
This one is called Coral
Coral
Bells. And again, I love the coral bells, you know, and I think a lot of it has to
Foliage.
do, you know, the foliage. So you've got a nice round shape again, and you get all kinds of different color variation in the foliage.
texture.
And it's, you know, kind of burgundy to pink,
Like, look at these two together.
you know, beautiful. And then they get these little flowers that come on this long stem that, you know, sometimes they'll come this high. And, you know, it's just kind of like this little wisp of.
Just reminds you of a fairy.
Yeah.
Just popping out of the ground.
And so, you know, I love them in the fact that when they're done flowering, then you still have color and texture and shape and, you know,
So
all
let
of that
me hold
stuff.
that. Grab the hosta. Again,
Oh,
this
yeah.
one is great for shade as well.
It's love shade.
So like, look at the combination of foliage and texture here. So a lot of people will plant a monostand, meaning one of something, and they do this mass planting, which can be very beautiful in a large space. Quite often our home gardens aren't that big, so you want to change up the texture. You want to add some dimensions, some varying height, things like that. And really, you want to be able to enjoy it year round. So here are 3 beautiful perennials. You don't buy them for their flowering. Yeah,
exactly. And so, yeah, you want to be conscientious of the spacing.
Yes.
So what it says
very much
on the tag. So if it says, you know, mature height is 4 feet or, you know, 3 feet by 2 feet or whatever, you know, be conscientious of that. And there's strength in numbers when planting. And so when we, you know, would do recommendations for yardscape, we would recommend planting in threes, 5s, you know, odd numbers, right? Not even numbers.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's another. I mean,
so another little landscape.
We could go on and on.
Yes, we could.
And on and on.
And we're at the top of the hour. But the last thing that I wanted to do, because we know we have viewers globally. So I brought with me 2 of my favorite books. This first one is Woody Ornamentals. Now this was written, and this is for the prairies. This was written by Hugh Knowles, and he was considered an expert in the field for our area. So it's important, especially as much as we move now. Get to know your local garden center. Go out and talk to the experts. Find out what is rigorous, what is hardy for your area. Because it varies by zone. We have Alberta and we have 2 zones here in this province. The other thing that I have, because again, most homeowners or most gardens are very small, and I love fresh vegetables. And I used to have a townhouse. So my postage stamp yard used to produce and used to surprise people the amount of food I could produce. I have had this book since before I did so this would be from the mid-80s. I bought this book, Carrots Love Tomatoes. This is all about companion planting. Some plants, everything has energy. Some plants love growing with other plants, and some plants do not like growing with other plants. That is a study on your own. So to me, this is, and it's funny because I hadn't pulled out this book for a while because I know things so well now. These are my notes from probably 15, 20 years ago of which ones I was putting together and which ones I was growing together and how I was designing my yard. That's a winter project. I would caution against doing it now and then running to the greenhouse to buy it because you're rushed.
You want to plan it.
You want to plan it out, plan out your space. So those are my 2 favorite gardening books. Do you have a favorite gardening book?
You know, Lois Hole, right? Obviously has lots of great information for Alberta. Where we live.
For sure.
But interesting, you know, one of my very good dear friends, Louise Patterson-Bruns, if she's listening, I might tag her on this. She's an incredible source of information, and her mother wrote a couple of gardening books.
Cool.
And she lives on a legacy farm. It's been passed down. I think now this is the 4th generation. And so something I was just sharing with Cheryl this morning that I just recently learned that Louise planted a spin garden. And really cool.
Never heard that term before.
So it's actually stands for small plot intensive. So look it up. It's really cool. I love it. Right? Spin garden.
And lastly, do we want to talk about the numbers?
Sure.
For numerology. So the card that flew out of the deck at the garden center is the number 14 card garden.
The garden.
Go figure.
And you know, while you're grabbing the book, the double digitology, I just wanted to read on here. So design side and back gardens to embrace the house
Nice.
with the shrubs, trees, vines, fencing, and walls.
Perfect. Doing that armchair.
So it's kind
Comfort.
of like, you know what? The plants are there to give your
Embrace.
house a hug.
Nice.
Love it.
Nice. Love it.
Okay.
Okay. Before we do the numerology, the one thing I did want to mention, because
yes.
Bluegrass is so generous. Thank you, Roxanne, Kevin, the greenhouse manager, Bruce, Doreen, everybody
They're
that's allowing
excellent
us.
staff
So
here.
cool to be here.
Mhm.
They have their big pepper and tomato caged planters that are regular
They're so big, we
$29.99.
couldn't even
Yeah,
fit
they're
them in
not here because we can't bring them here. They're on for $11.99 until Sunday,
this weekend.
this weekend.
Mhm.
So June 9th to whatever Sunday is.
So if you're in the area, come
11.
down, get one of the caged pepper plants.
Yeah,
12
like-
bucks.
Wow, huge. Okay,
Okay.
so the number 14,
14.
1 and 4 equals
a
a
5.
5.
Change, change,
Change.
change, change, change. Change, change, change.
Oh, you're so
There's
cute.
a song like that.
Yeah, there is. Similar, but Aretha Franklin comes to mind.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Change, change, change.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
We'll say that. So I always refer, she knows her numerology better. I'm learning. I refer to Double Digitology, Marilyn Joy's book, and it's Adironda's version because she always talks about the shape of the number.
Right. I love that. Too.
Yeah, I do too. So the 5 can roll around. That's that rounded bottom. Well, it's balanced and poised for movement.
Oh, yeah. It wants to go forward.
It wants to move forward. Very cool. 5 is change.
Change, change,
Yeah.
change.
The 5 is a number that in its physical structure is balanced, yet it is poised for movement or action. It is ready and can roll around.
Mhm.
When the 5 shows up in your life, we see that you are looking towards a change of some kind. You may be moving in several directions because you might feel the nudge to make some changes, yet you are not sure which direction those changes will take you. So you sort of roll back and forth,
Mhm.
searching for your own balance.
And again, it's about balance, right?
100%.
Creating balance, harmony. Yeah.
At the top of the show, we
Mhm.
talked about the Bagua and how important it is having a representation, right, in
Mhm.
all 9 areas to create that balance. Well, the 5 is seeking balance between the physical and the spiritual world,
Love it.
right? The spiritual world is the unseen world, is
Mhm.
the chi energy that we talk about, that we like to attract in.
Mhm.
Bees, flowers, plants, nature,
Mhm.
friends. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. So we hope you learned something today.
Mhm.
And
Did we have any comments
give
or
us,
questions
you know
that we
what, I
needed
didn't
to
have
check?
a chance
Oh,
to.
okay.
So we'll have to look when we
We'll
get.
have to look and respond later.
And yeah, make your comments, ask some
Share,
questions,
ask some-
share love.
Exactly. Let
whatever.
us know. Shout out to Bluegrass. We'll tag them in here too. You know, it's nice to know and hear from people other than us that it looks absolutely beautiful here. And it is.
Stunning. And I'm not going to shop today.
Liar, you have something sitting beside you already.
Oh, one. It's just
Yeah,
one.
it's just
Just a
it's
teeny
just a little
weeny-
goldfish.
It's a wee-
And what are you
teeny-
going to do with the goldfish
teeny
plant?
weeny. This is a beautiful little goldfish plant, and it gets little gold flowers
Mhm.
that look like fish. I'm putting it in my wealth and prosperity area
In your house.
inside.
Cool. Perfect. Well,
Bye.
like, love, share, show us some hearts, ask some questions. We're happy to help. We also have our YouTube channel, Feng Shui with Anita and Cheryl. Got some great interviews on the Flock playlist there, FLAWC. Literally, this is the Fruit Loop and Wind Chimes Club.
Go figure.
Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye. Yeah.